Good morning all, a warm welcome. I'm Sage and you are watching Kalkine TV live from Sydney. And this is the Global Markets Roundup. The US stocks rebound on upbeat labour data, and all benchmark US indices closed higher on Thursday, May 20th, halting a downward trend witnessed in the past 3 days as stocks bounced back sharply amid positive labour data. The S&P 500 was up 1.06% to 4,159.12. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.55% to 34,084.15. The Nasdaq Composite Index climbed 1.77% to 13,535.74. The Small Cap Russell 2000 gained 0.64% to 2,207.76. Markets were lifted by the latest labour data, which showed the number of jobless benefits claims through the regular state programs dropped to a new low of 444,000 last week. It was the sharpest fall since mid-March 2020. And many states are also mulling to withdraw the labour federal benefits as the labour shortages raised questions about whether people deliberately avoided work because of the government aid. Over 20 states have favoured withdrawing federal grants to workers that are typically not eligible for benefits. And now let's look at some important announcements over the night. Investors took their cues from several positive news in the market, and Virgin Galactic, or SPCE, announced that it would perform another test flight of its spacecraft SpaceShipTwo Unity on Saturday. The stock jumped around 25% in the pre-market trading. The Swedish food company Oatly Group, or OTLY, made its US stock market debut on Thursday, and the stock jumped more than 22% in the afternoon session on the Nasdaq. The company had raised $1.4 billion at an offering price of $17 per share for 84.4 million stocks on Wednesday. And in other news, Apollo Global's co-founder Joshua Harris is to step down from his role after changes in the management. However, he will retain his position as a board member, it said. Technology stocks, which remained muted for the past 3 days, recovered on Thursday as stocks saw rapid advances, and Tesla was up 4%. Facebook rose 1.6% and Microsoft added 1.38%. The stock of cloud-based payment processing company Lightspeed POS jumped more than 15%. And Ford Motor and Cisco Systems gained 2.64% and 0.87%, respectively, and Alibaba was up 2.02%. The stock of luxury apparel maker Ralph Lauren Corp fell 7% after it announced its fourth quarter results. Its revenues were marginally up 1% to $1.29 billion. And all major segments such as technology, real estate, healthcare, consumer cyclicals, utilities, consumer non-cyclicals, industrials, basic materials, energy and financials saw gains in Thursday's session. Moving on to the top gainers. Top performers on S&P 500 included Enphase Energy Inc. up 8.53%. Hormel Foods Corp up as well, 7.37%. Viacom CBS Inc. up 4.61%. And Maxim Integrated Products Inc. up as well, 4.55%. Moving on now to the Nasdaq. The top performers were Big Rock Partners Acquisition Corp. up a huge 88.01%. Urban One Inc. up as well in the green, 59.07%. Newegg Commerce Inc. up 43.60%. And Sensei Biotherapeutics Inc. up 30.11%. On the Dow Jones, Apple Inc. was up 2.10%. Boeing Co. up 1.44%. Microsoft Corp. 1.38% up. And Amgen Inc. was up as well, 1.33%. They were the leaders. Let's now look at the top losers, focusing the lens on the top laggards on the S&P 500, which included Ralph Lauren Corp, who was down 7.01%, Discovery Inc. down 4.06%, Gap Inc. down 4.01%, and L Brands Inc. down 3.91%. Over to the Nasdaq. Black Diamond Therapeutics Inc. was down a huge 37.34%. Juicy Holdings Inc. down 25.43%. Onacova Therapeutics down as well 21.08%. And eHome Household Service Holdings Limited down 19.34%. They were the losers. On the Dow Jones, Caterpillar Inc. was down 0.79%, Dow Inc. down 0.42%. Verizon Communications Inc. down as well 0.23%. And United Health Group Inc. was down 0.21%. They were the laggards. Let's now take a look at who's holding the space in the volume movers. The top volume movers were Ford Motor Co. 17.82 million shares. Apple Inc. 16.78 million shares, AT&T Inc. 15.65 million shares, Cisco Systems Inc. with 11.51 million shares, Advanced Micro Devices Inc. 10.11 million shares. Intel Corp 9.43 million shares, General Electric Co. 8.68 million shares. Bank of America Corp 8.42 million shares. And Onacova Therapeutics Inc. 11.99 million shares. Sundial Growers Inc. 11.59 million shares. Intel Corp 9.43 million shares. Urban One Inc. 9.41 million shares. And Advaxis Inc. 7.54 million shares. Moving on now to the futures and commodities. The gold futures were down 0.22% to US $1,877.35 per ounce. Silver decreased 0.62% to US $27.852 per ounce, while copper was down 1.03% to US $4.5293. Brent oil futures increased slightly by 0.05% to US $64.96 per barrel, and WTI crude declined 2.49% to US $61.77. And finally, let's take a look at the bond market. The 30-year Treasury bond yields were down 2.27% to 2.333, while the 10-year bond yields decreased 3.24% to 1.628, and the US dollar futures index was down 0.49% to $89 US 0.745. And now, after having US stock market explored, let's move on to the ASX 200 on Thursday. The Australian benchmark index charged higher, closing the session 0.66%, up at 7,019.6, comfortably reclaiming the 7,000 mark. And in the foreign exchange market, the dollar lost ground and fell 0.503%, hovering near multi-month lows. The Australian dollar jumped 0.59% to 0.7771 on Thursday after labour force data depicted a faster than expected decline in unemployment in April 2021. The data revealed jobless rates had fallen to a one-year low of 5.5% compared to economists' forecasts of 5.6%. The New Zealand dollar also rose 0.49% to 0.72 in the last session. Over to the crypto space. Cryptocurrencies bounced back sharply from their recent sharp drop, but were well off the day's highs during the late trading hours. The recovery in crypto space came after crypto backers such as ARK Invest's Cathy Wood indicated their support on Wednesday, and Bitcoin was most recently up by 9.15% at US $40,090 after plummeting 54% below its all-time high, hit just over a month ago, and after some of its prominent backers reiterated their support. Concerns over tighter regulations in China around the cryptocurrencies and unease over the extent of highly leveraged positions in the cryptocurrency space had caused this week's sharp sell-off. Smaller rival Ether gained 13.09% to 2,767 on Wednesday. It fell 22.8%, its biggest one-day fall since March 2020. On the Nasdaq Composite, in the US, shot up by 1.77% to 13,535.75, depicting a surge in demand for technology shares, and the Australian tech space is expected to mimic the same enthusiasm, with the tech giants such as Afterpay Limited, Zipco Limited and Xero Limited to remain in the focus today. Oil prices dropped more than 2% on concerns of increasing supply after diplomats said progress was made towards a deal to lift the US sanctions on Iran. And Australian energy companies such as Oil Search Limited, Woodside Petroleum Limited and Santos Limited could continue their downtrends from the previous sessions. On Thursday, gold traded close to more than 4-month peaks. It hit on Wednesday, backed by a dip in the US Treasury yields and US dollar, as investors shrugged off the Fed's hints on possible loosening up of economic support measures. Australian gold miners such as Newcrest Mining Limited, Evolution Mining Limited and De Grey Mining Limited could also trade higher today. On Thursday, Chinese iron ore and steel futures led a sustained selling pressure across the nation's metals complex after the Chinese government sought stringent oversights of commodity markets to curb sky-high prices, sparking a broad-based correction. September contracts of iron ore futures on the Dalian Commodity Exchange closed down by 5.7% at 1,142.50 yuan, or $177.40 per tonne. And on the other hand, prices of the metal used widely in power and construction, and this is copper, traded higher on Thursday as a softer dollar and worries about a strike in Chile spurred demand, but plans by the top consumer, China, to manage the supply, demand and prices of commodities capped gains. On the London Metal Exchange, or LME, the benchmark copper was up 0.5% at $10,056 a tonne at 1,558 GMT. However, copper prices were down 6% since hitting a record $10,747.50 US a tonne earlier in May 2021. Australian mining giants such as Rio Tinto, Fortescue Metals Group Limited and BHP Group Limited could trade with a downward bias in today's session. Thanks so much for joining us on that report. That is all for now. Stay tuned with Kalkine TV for more live market updates, and we will be back shortly with more news on the markets, economy and diverse themes and sectors. This is Sage signing off for now.